Let me show you the behind the scenes of how I do my editing workflow for content creation when I'm working with brands like hotels. I am a content creator and influencer, and some of what I do is travel content. This is how I am going through to make sure I am being effective with my time. The first thing that I'm going to be doing is looking at any video that I have created on my phone to then edit that. And the first step is to retouch that coloring. So I'm going to go into edit. This could be different on every person's phone, so understand your phone before you jump into this. And you are just going to do your basic color correction. So I'm going to scroll to a place where I am on the screen, and then I am going to start by messing with my contrast. I always drag my contrast up so that it's a little bit more refined. And then I go over to my black point and I drag that up as well to like clearly define the coloring inside of the videos. From there, now I need to look at it and see what else I need to adjust. I may need to add a little bit of brightness. I may need to adjust my exposure depending on what I have filmed. And I may need to mess with something like my warmth. So I'm actually going to warm this up just a little bit so that it's a little bit more of that nice sun yellow golden color for summer, because I am porcelain white and that sometimes reflects poorly on camera. So I'm just going to warm up my skin tone a little bit. I can actually go down to my highlights and I can change those. I can also change my shadows. I might actually define my shadows just a little bit more. If I were a little bit shadowier, I might actually bump it the opposite way to kind of even that out. And when I'm done, I am just going to click on that done button. So now we've got the different coloring for my video here so that it looks a little bit more on that professional edge. And with that contrast and with that black point, it makes it look like a higher end camera has shot this. From there, I now need to take my screenshots. So I am going to scroll through here, and these are not the photos that I'm using. If I'm creating content for a hotel or for any brand, we're using professional cameras, not our phones, to create that content unless it's strictly video content. This is just extra things for thumbnails. This is stuff for me if I'm going to be doing this, but this is how I'm getting that really easy content creation. So I'm going to start from the beginning, and I am just going to watch as I am posing here. And then anytime I see a good pose, I am just going to click that button right there, and it is going to go through and it is going to be able to take those screenshots, which you can't see, but I can see here on my phone. So then we're just going to go through. I'm going to take all those screenshots and I'll check back in. Once I screenshot everything, I can then look through the grid, decide which ones are going to look good. The benefits of this being in the 3x3 grid will allow me to see what it's going to look like on Instagram. So I can actually hold it up next to another phone, hold it up next to my desktop, and decide which one is going to look best in the size comparison that it's going to be on Instagram if I'm using these as thumbnails. I also recommend going through this and picking your favorites both in the small size and in the full size scale so that you know which ones you like, so that you don't have to memorize it or go through it again when it's time to use these as thumbnails. It'll mark it with that little heart. Now that I've got all of my videos color corrected and screenshot, I am now going to move forward and look at my list of content that I want to be creating. Now, before I went to any location, I created a list of things that I wanted to do, things I needed to remember, things I needed to get for the venue, things I needed to get for me. I wanted a running list that I could use on my phone and just check off as I went. So I actually use my Notes app. I make that list and I have a little bullet point by each of them that I can just tap to check to know that I succeeded in getting that content and I can move on to the next. This allows me to walk in with a plan. So when I go into a venue, I know exactly what I'm going to be shooting and I get that done first. Because I know what I'm getting, I get it done very quickly. I'm not wasting time. I'm not doing extra things. I'm getting the staple content that I need first. Then that gives me the rest of the time to explore, to play, to have fun, to get extra content that I might be able to use later on. This is B-roll footage. This is potential content that I can be using in tutorials and tours and all of those things. So I'm looking for little details. I'm looking for things that people are going to see. I'm looking for things where I can be cinematic. I'm looking for B-roll. I'm looking where I am going to be looking straight at the camera. I'm getting all of that content after I've created that list and I've shot all of those things. So now that I've created that content, I'm back home, I'm doing my editing workflow. I am now going to go through that list and I'm going to pull those things together. I am going to start creating that content, using those videos, doing all of those things. I'm going to go through that and I can start pulling things and marking things from there. But then I can also expand on that, knowing that I created extra content. Now I am also going to be looking for a clip, just one clip that I can use on my Instagram stories, my TikTok stories, even my YouTube shorts to tease things. I am looking for something that I can just tease that I am going to be creating this, because I have not created the final concept content yet. I've not put anything together, but I do want a little bit of content to say, hey, I was here and I'm working on this. Get ready, this is coming. And it really does depend on whether or not I'm creating content specifically for the hotel or for the venue that I'm putting on my pages. That's going to tease up to it a little bit more. If I'm doing it as UGC, user-generated content, where I'm going to be selling it to them for them to use in their marketing, then I'm probably not going to tease it as much, or I'm going to tease it differently so that I can kind of show, oh, I was in this venue, I was doing this work today, where do you think this is? Are you excited for this? I'll show you the final product when they put it out, all of those things. So I'm looking for teaser-based content as I'm going through all of these things, and I'm going to mark those if possible, or I'm going to send them to myself, because when I'm doing things, especially if I have filmed on a phone, I am going through doing the color correcting, making sure I know exactly what I need, where I need it, and then as I need things, I'm sending it over via AirDrop to my computer so that I can function with it and create that content. I typically don't edit things on my phone unless I am traveling and on the go and I don't have access to my computer. So from there, I'm getting all of this video-based content together first before I jump into the photo-based content. So I want to know what I have video-wise before I get into the photos, because that works in tandem with it, but also separate from it. So now I move on to the photo culling. To work on my photos, I'm going to take my card and put it in a card reader, attach it to my computer, and then I'm going to transfer them over that way. Some people do it from their camera into their computer, and I just find that's not quite as effective, so I'd much rather use a card reader. And then I am going to pull up my photos. So I'm going to put all of them into a folder on my computer. You can kind of see what I do here, and I just import them right in, and then I'm going to organize them into subfolders. So I'll have all of the images in one folder, and then I will create a subfolder. You can kind of see it popped up right there, and I'll label this as likes, and then I will pull anything that I like or that looks good from there. I do not delete old photos. I keep all of them, so even if I'm making a weird face or it blurred or it's not what I want, I leave it in that original folder, and then I level down from there. So I'll go for likes, anything that's good I'll pull into a folder. Sometimes that means you will have a lot of data on your computer and you can deal with that later on, but this is how I like to organize things. So I'll do my likes there, and then I will do something like good or better or best as I'm narrowing things down, because I'm not going to give 500 photos to a hotel. I'm going to give them a handful of them of the best that's going to be most effective for them. This goes back to my photography training, where when we are giving wedding photos, or where we're doing senior portraits, or we're doing family photos, we're not going to give them a ton of them to choose from. We're going to pick the best of the best and allow them to narrow it down from there, because too many choices overwhelm people. You always have extras if they decide they don't like the options that you're giving them, but we're giving them a good amount of photos depending on the contract that you have with them, and we are going to be able to then pick the best of the best. If we are in this industry, we have to have studied the industry, so we know what's going to translate well into ads, into social content, into content for their websites, etc. So you know what they're looking for already because you've done your studying, and you'll be able to go from there. So I have subfolders. This one I would label as good, and then I would maybe label it as best if I'm continuing to narrow it down. But the more you do this, the better your eye is going to be, and the faster you're going to be able to pick things as you go. So from there, what I do is I actually reorganize my screen just a little bit. I'm going to pull my folder out, and I'm going to put it in the bottom left-hand corner, and that is because with this, I now have, there we go, I'm gonna make it a little smaller. I now have all of my things, all of my thumbnails over on this side right here. My folder is gonna be right next to it. You can't see it quite where you are. There we go. So you're gonna be able to see that folder right there. So as I'm going through this, if there's things that I like, I am then going to pull them. So I'm just going to very quickly, I don't even take a ton of time to do this. I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna kind of look at things, and if I see something I really like, maybe I really like this one, I'm just gonna drag it into that folder. So from there, I can then just go through and I can pull a handful of good photos. I like that one, so we're gonna take that one and move that into the folder. Now keep in mind as I'm doing this, I do photos in sets, so you can kind of see we've got 1, 2, 3 of the same thing. And my hair's a little bit different in each of these, so as I'm going through it, I am going to pick what's going to work best for that particular shot. So you can see I've got different variations of this. Which one are they going to like? They don't need 7 photos of me sitting in the corner of the pool. Maybe what they need is that cute one for bachelorette parties, or they need it for spring break things. Maybe they are going to want something more like this to kind of show off the area. They're going to show off the pool. They're going to show off the background. Things are going to translate differently, and you, because you have studied, now understand what that is going to be. So from there, let's say I have now created my subfolder of the things that I like. I can pull those back up and I can go through all of those and narrow it down from there. Once I have the things that I've narrowed down, which I have done these before, so we're not going to go through all of it right now, I am then going to pick those final photos and I'm going to drag them into Photoshop where I'm going to be retouching these photos. Now, when I'm doing my retouching, I am not doing a ton of work on these photos. I am going to go in, I'm going to change any coloring that might not have translated really well. So sometimes if you take a photo and it does a white balance for your skin, that should get everything in a good coloring. If, however, it white balances to the very white concrete beneath you and it's not translating well and you've got like warped colors, now you're going to fix those. You may have a thing where you have underexposed so that it's a little bit darker in the photos. Let me show you. This one is underexposed. So you can see how I shot it so that all the detail would be here inside of the photo for the cement here, for the trees, for the sky, but I am a little bit dark. So I would go in and I would retouch this by brightening up just me so that you can see that in more of a real-time view, because it is going to color expose or brightness expose for the lightest part of the image. And so you might have to do a little bit of retouching here. When I am retouching, I'm also looking at things that are not naturally a part of my subject, be it me or someone else that I am photographing for this. So I'm looking for shadows under the eyes that I'm just going to lighten. I am looking for blemishes that might be on the skin. I am going to look for cuts on skin. If you go through some of these photos, you're going to see at some point I scraped my leg along something and I have a big red mark on my leg. That is something that I would then retouch. Let me see if I can find an example for you. That was not it. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Nope. You can't really see it really well because of the lighting, but if you look right about here, I've got that little mark right on my leg there, and that is going to need to be something that I am retouching because that is not something that's normally a part of me. So I'm just doing very simple retouching, so color correcting, exposure correcting, and then I'm going to be doing anything that is not normally a part of me. We are not reshaping bodies. Now that I finished retouching my photos, I can then go back and take any content I'm creating that is a mix of video and photos and create those. Oftentimes for my own channels, I am creating tutorials on how to take photos in locations very quickly in under a minute so that people don't notice, so that you can create the content but not feel like you're getting a bunch of eyes on you. So I do video and I pair it with those photos to show those end results. So I'm taking anything that I have created and I'm going to be able to then blend it into the videos that I am creating to finalize those tutorials or the tours or whatever it happens to be. So I'm creating all of that so that I'm ready to go. And from there, I now have all of my content. When I have all of my content, now I'm doing some organization with this. I want to make sure that it is very clear what is going to be what. And I'm renaming files. This is incredibly important when it comes to your content creation, because if you are sending this to the hotel, to the venue you're working with, and they are just seeing image_2017, that is not searchable content for them. When I lose things, when I need to find things, I go to Finder on my Mac and I am typing in keywords. So I'm renaming every single file that I send them, and I'm going to make sure I am keywording the subdomains inside of the folders that I am going to be sending them as well. Subfolders, not subdomains. You can tell that I am a web designer. So from there, I am renaming all of my files, and I'm going to name them with the campaign name, and I'm going to make sure I have my name in association with that. So if they are looking for a specific campaign, they're going to be able to type that in and find it. I'm using keywords as well, so I can do, things by the pool, in the grand hall, by the bar, whatever it happens to be. Keywords are really going to help when it comes to those subfolders. I'm also making sure my name is attached to it. So XYZ campaign with KM Robinson. That way, if they don't remember exactly what they need, or even the campaign name, they will know, okay, that girl shot it, let me go ahead and type in her name. Or if they were looking for emails from me or whatever it happens to be, they're going to look that up, they're going to know who I am, and they're going to be able to go back and find that because my name is in the titles of all of the files, from the photos to the videos that I'm sending them. They're going to easily see it, and the main folder that I am going to be sending them of content. So it doesn't have to be in all of the subfolders. So it's not like by the pool with KM Robinson. It's just by the pool, by the bar, whatever it happens to be. Very easy for them to see in the subfolders, but the main folder will have the campaign name and then my name as well, so that it's easy for them to find. Once all of this is done, once I have everything organized, once I have sent things off, if I then am going to be posting things, I am looking at my calendar. I use Google Calendar for this because I can color code different things. I can turn different different colors on and off, make it very easy for me to see. And I can arrange what I'm going to be doing from there. Now, there are lots of options for this. Do whatever you need to do. I am going to figure out when I need to get everything posted, and I'm going to schedule it inside of my Google Calendar. I do not schedule things inside of most social apps, or definitely not third parties. I never use a third party app to then send out content because that can actually hurt your reach a little bit. I can schedule it through Instagram. I can schedule through TikTok. I definitely schedule through YouTube. If I'm posting YouTube content, you better believe that one's scheduled, but that's all directly inside of those apps. And then I always try to be there and present to engage with it to give it a little bump in the algorithm system as well when that does get scheduled out. So I'm figuring out when I need to be posting things. Some of that's going to be dictated by the contract you have with the hotel you're working with. If it's content just for you, or they're just giving you free range between certain days, you're figuring out where it's going to fit best inside of the rest of your content so it's scheduled and ready to go out to the public. So with that, my workflow is very, very simple. I go, I create the content. When I come back, I am going through all the content. I'm doing all of my color correcting on my videos. Then I am going to go through and take screenshots of those in case I need them for my tutorials, my very easy TikTok tutorials or Instagram tutorials. Do not need higher quality content. I am going to go through and then I'm going to retouch. I'm going to cull all of my images. I'm going to retouch all of my photos. I'm going to put them in the subfolders, get ready to go with that one. Then any final content that I need to make that is a cross between video and my photos will be created, and I'm going to be able to move forward from there. If I haven't done my videos yet, my solid videos, I will be able to do that right now. And then I can organize that to send it out to the proper authorities in the conversation of the campaign that we are having. If I am sending them content, if I need to get approval for content, if I need to schedule things, whatever it happens to be, I'm doing the paperwork side of that. And from there, I am following up. So once I posted something, I'm going to take any links and send it to the venues that I'm doing. If I'm sending them content, I'm going to make sure I follow up. If I don't hear back from them, I'm going to ask them if they need anything else. I always try to give little gifts, so I under promise and over deliver with every campaign that I do, if at all possible. Some things are not. If they're just hiring me to create a video to post on mine, they're not getting any extra content. But if I'm sending them content, I always give them a little something extra because we under promise and we over deliver so that we have a good working relationship in the future. And if you want more details on how I get collaborations with different hotels, how I'm working with them to make sure they continually remember me, go ahead and let me know down in the comments below. We're helping you to level up in your influencer life, and we've got lots of ways that you can be working on big collaborations like this. And even if you are brand new and you're just starting to jump into this world, we're going to talk about how you can be thriving in this space, getting yourself prepared and aligned, and getting these paid jobs as well. So questions on this, drop it down below. I will be answering your questions. We're also going to be bringing on some fantastic guests for you to level up your career as well. So we want to make sure we're getting those questions answered for you, and hit the subscribe and notification bell because every single day we are helping you to level up on the social platforms, navigating the world of TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, live streaming, and with the tools and resources you need to save time and effort on your content creation so you can make more money online but spend less time doing it. I'll see you in the upcoming episodes.